The morning sun rose over New Eden Colony like it always did. The orange light painted the buildings in warm colors. Children ran to school. Workers headed to the factories and farms. Nobody knew that this would be the last peaceful morning they would ever see. New Eden was humanity's pride. It was the first successful colony outside Earth's solar system. 300,000 people called it home. They had built it from nothing over 50 years. The planet was beautiful with its blue oceans and green forests. It reminded everyone of Earth. That was why they named it New Eden. Marcus Chen stood on his porch and drank his coffee. He was 62 years old. His hair was gray now. His hands were rough from decades of work. He had been one of the first colonists. He remembered when there was nothing here but rocks and dirt. Now there were cities and farms and happy families. His granddaughter Emma ran past him. She was 8 years old with bright eyes and a smile that could light up any room. She was late for school again. "Slow down," Marcus called after her. "You will fall." Emma laughed and kept running. Marcus smiled and shook his head. Children were the same everywhere, even on a planet far from Earth. In the colony's defense center, Lieutenant Sarah Wang stared at her screen. Something was wrong. The long-range sensors were picking up signals. Many signals. They were coming fast. "Sir," she said to her commander, "you need to see this." Commander James Rodriguez walked over. He was a tall man with a serious face. He had served in the Earth Defense Force for 20 years before taking this post. He thought it would be a quiet job, boring even. He was wrong. "What am I looking at?" he asked. "Ships, sir. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They appeared out of nowhere." Rodriguez felt his blood go cold. Humanity had met other species in the galaxy. Most were friendly, some were not, but they had never seen anything like this. "Can you identify them?" Wang's fingers flew across her keyboard. Her face went pale. "Sir, the computer says they are Krath, but that is impossible. The Krath homeworld is on the other side of the galaxy." The Krath, Rodriguez knew the name. Everyone did. They were an ancient species, violent and cruel. They had destroyed dozens of civilizations over millions of years. They saw other species as nothing more than insects to be crushed. "How long until they reach us?" 3 hours, sir." 3 hours. That was not enough time, not nearly enough time. Rodriguez made a decision. "Sound the alarm, get everyone to the shelters. Contact Earth, tell them what is happening." The sirens began to wail. The peaceful morning shattered like glass. Marcus heard the sirens. He dropped his coffee cup. It broke on the ground. He knew that sound. He had heard it in drills, but this was not a drill. He could feel it in his bones. He ran inside and turned on the news. The reporter looked scared. Her voice shook as she spoke. "We are receiving reports of unknown vessels approaching New Eden. All citizens are ordered to proceed to emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Marcus thought of Emma. She was at school. He had to get her. He grabbed his old military jacket and ran outside. Other people were running too. Some were crying, some were screaming. Everyone was afraid. The school was 2 kilometers away. Marcus ran as fast as his old legs could carry him. His heart pounded. His lungs burned. But he did not stop. He reached the school. Children were being loaded onto buses. Teachers were trying to keep order, but panic was spreading. "Emma," Marcus shouted. "Emma." A small hand grabbed his arm. Emma was there. Her face was wet with tears. "Grandpa, what is happening? Why is everyone scared?" Marcus picked her up. She was getting too big for this, but he did not care. "Everything will be okay," he said. "Grandpa will keep you safe." He did not know if that was true, but he would die trying. The Krath fleet entered orbit 2 hours and 47 minutes later. They did not try to communicate. They did not send warnings. They simply began their attack. The first bombs fell on the capital city. Buildings that had taken years to build were destroyed in seconds. Thousands died in the first minute, tens of thousands in the first hour. The colony's defenses tried to fight back. They had some weapons, old ones from Earth. They were not enough. The Krath ships swatted them away like flies. Rodriguez watched from his bunker as his world burned. He had sent the message to Earth. It would take days to arrive. Help would take weeks. They were alone. Sir, Wong said. She was crying. They are landing troops. Rodriguez looked at the screens. Krath soldiers were pouring out of transport ships. They were tall and gray with too many limbs. They moved like insects, fast and horrible. Get everyone who can fight, Rodriguez said. We will not go quietly. It was hopeless, he knew it, but humans did not surrender. It was not in their nature. Marcus had reached the shelter with Emma. It was underground, deep in the rock. Hundreds of people were crowded inside. The sounds of explosions echoed from above. Emma held his hand tight. Grandpa, I am scared. I know, Marcus said. I am too. An old woman next to them was praying. A young man was holding his baby. A teenage girl was trying to call her parents on her communicator, but there was no signal. The lights flickered. Everyone screamed. Then there was silence, a terrible silence. The shelter door began to buckle. Something was trying to break through. Metal screamed as it bent. People ran to the back of the shelter. There was nowhere to go. The door broke. Gray figures poured in, Krath soldiers. Marcus pushed Emma behind him. He picked up a metal pipe from the ground. It was all he had. Stay behind me, he said. A Krath soldier pointed something at him. There was a flash of light, pain, then nothing. The attack on New Eden lasted 3 days. When it was over, 260,000 humans were dead. The remaining 40,000 were taken as slaves. The Krath did not explain why. They did not need to. They were conquerors. Humans were nothing to them. But the Krath made a mistake. They did not kill everyone, and they did not understand what they had awakened. The message from New Eden reached Earth 8 days later. It was incomplete. Parts were corrupted, but enough survived, enough for humanity to understand what had happened. And humanity remembered an old truth, a truth written in blood throughout their history. Vengeance was their legacy. Earth received the message on a Tuesday morning. It was autumn in Geneva, where the United Human Council met. The leaves were turning red and gold. People were drinking coffee and going to work. Nobody knew that everything was about to change. Admiral Chen Wei sat in her office when the alert came. She was the commander of Earth's defense forces. She had served for 40 years. She had seen many things, but nothing prepared her for this. The message played on her screen. It was broken and full of static, but she could see enough. Ships in the sky, buildings on fire, people screaming, and then nothing. She watched it 3 times. Her hands shook, not from fear, from anger. Get me the council, she said to her assistant, now. Within an hour, every leader of humanity was in the same room. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, scientists. They watched the message together. Nobody spoke. When it ended, the room was silent. Then the shouting began. We need to respond, someone yelled. With what? Our fleet is not strong enough. We should negotiate. Negotiate? Did you see what they did? Admiral Chen stood up. The room went quiet. She was not a tall woman, but her presence filled the space. New Eden was my cousin's colony, she said. Her voice was calm, cold. Marcus Chen. He was one of the first settlers. His granddaughter was 8 years old. Nobody said anything. The Krath have made their intentions clear. They do not want peace. They do not want trade. They want to destroy us, all of us, every man, woman, and child in human space. She looked around the room. I have studied their history. They have done this before, dozens of times. Entire civilizations wiped out, not because they needed resources, not because they were threatened, simply because they could. What do you suggest? The president of Earth asked. Chen's eyes were hard. We build, we prepare, and then we teach them what happens when you hurt humanity. The council voted that day. It was unanimous. Humanity would go to war. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable happened. Old enemies became allies. Countries that had fought for centuries worked together. Corporations gave up their patents. Scientists shared their secrets. Everyone understood that this was not about politics or money. This was about survival. Factories that made cars started making weapons. Shipyards worked around the clock. Millions of young men and women volunteered to fight. They did not have to be asked. They came on their own. Dr. Sarah Kim was one of the scientists working on new weapons. She was a physicist. Before the attack, she had studied theoretical energy fields. Now she studied how to turn those fields into weapons. She worked 20 hours a day. When she slept, she dreamed of the message from New Eden, the screaming, the fire. She would wake up and go back to work. "You need to rest," her colleague told her. "You will kill yourself." "My brother was on New Eden," she said. "His wife, their 2 children, rest can wait." 3 months after the attack, they had a breakthrough, a new type of weapon, something that could penetrate craft shields. Dr. Kim presented it to the military. "It works by disrupting their energy fields," she explained. "Their ships become vulnerable. Their soldiers lose their personal shields." Admiral Chen nodded. "How soon can you produce them?" 6 months. Make it 3. Meanwhile, the military was training. Every human who could fight was learning how. Not just soldiers, teachers, farmers, office workers, everyone. Sergeant Major Tom Baker ran one of the training camps. He was old for a soldier, 55, but he had fought in 3 wars on Earth. He knew how to make soldiers. A young recruit approached him. The boy was maybe 18, thin, scared. "Sir, do we really have a chance? I saw the videos. The craft destroyed New Eden in 3 days." Baker looked at him. "Son, let me tell you something about humans. We have been fighting since we learned to walk. We fought animals bigger than us. We fought nature. We fought each other. We have survived ice ages and plagues and nuclear weapons." He put his hand on the boy's shoulder. "The craft think they are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They have never faced us. They hit us when we were not ready. They will not make that mistake twice, and we will not let them." The boy stood a little taller. "Yes, sir." "Now get back to training. We have a war to win." In the Krath Empire, news of New Eden was received with satisfaction. Another inferior species brought to heel. The humans had been easier than expected. Their technology was primitive. Their defenses laughable. High Commander Vrick sat in his chambers and watched the recordings from New Eden. He enjoyed watching the humans run. He enjoyed their screams. It reminded him why the Krath were superior. "The humans have other colonies," his subordinate reported. "They will be easy to take." "Of course they will," Vrick said. "Prepare the fleet. We will continue our campaign." "What about their homeworld, Earth?" Vrix made a sound that might have been laughter. "In time, let them watch as we take everything they have built. Let them feel despair. Then we will come for Earth." He did not know that humanity was not feeling despair. They were feeling something else entirely. On a small space station near Mars, a group of survivors from New Eden had gathered. They were the few who had escaped, 43 people out of 300,000. They had watched their world burn from space. Among them was a woman named Lisa Wang. She had been Lieutenant Sarah Wang's sister. Sarah had died trying to defend the colony. Lisa had escaped only because she was on a supply ship when the attack began. She stood before the other survivors. "They took everything from us, our homes, our families, our friends, but they did not take our will." She looked at each of them. "I am going to join the military. I am going to learn how to fight, and I am going to make them pay for what they did. Who will join me?" Every hand went up. The survivors became known as the New Eden Brigade. They trained harder than anyone. They fought fiercer than anyone, because for them this war was personal. 6 months after the attack, humanity was ready. They had 200 warships, new weapons, millions of trained soldiers. It was not as much as they wanted, but it was enough to start. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the flagship, the UHS Vengeance. She looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krath were planning their next attack. They did not know what was coming. "All ships report ready," her executive officer said. Chen nodded. "Send the message to the fleet. Today we begin our response. Today we show the galaxy what humanity does when you threaten our children, when you destroy our homes, when you take everything we love." She paused. "Today vengeance begins." The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. The stars blurred, and humanity went to war. The first battle happened at a Krath outpost called Nexar 7. It was a small base, not important in the larger war, but it was close, and humanity needed a victory. Admiral Chen's fleet arrived without warning. The Krath did not expect an attack. Why would they? Inferior species did not attack the Krath. They ran, they hid, they died. Humans did none of these things. The new weapons worked perfectly. Krath shields flickered and died. Their ships, once thought invincible, became targets. Human missiles tore through their hulls. Human soldiers stormed their stations. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it was over, 3 Krath warships were destroyed. The outpost was captured. Human losses were minimal. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Send a message to Earth. Tell them it worked." The news spread fast. Humanity had fought the Krath and won. People celebrated in the streets, but the celebration was brief. Everyone knew this was just the beginning. High Commander Vrix received the news with disbelief. Nexar 7 had fallen. Impossible. The humans were insects. Insects could not defeat Krath warriors. "Show me the recordings," he demanded. He watched as human ships cut through his forces. He saw Krath soldiers fall to human weapons. His claws dug into his chair. "This changes nothing," he said, but his voice was not as confident as before. "Send the main fleet, destroy them." The Krath assembled a fleet of 1,000 ships. It was the largest force they had used in a century. They would crush these humans once and for all. But humanity was not waiting. They were hunting. The new Eden Brigade had become the tip of the spear. Lisa Wang led one of their units. She had changed since the attack. The softness in her eyes was gone. Now there was only cold determination. Her unit specialized in close combat. They wore powered armor and carried weapons designed by Dr. Kim's team. They were not fighting to capture. They were fighting to destroy. "Remember New Eden," Lisa said to her soldiers before every mission. "Remember what they took from us." Nobody needed to be reminded. The second major battle took place at Corvin Station. It was a Krath supply depot. Without it, their fleet could not operate in human space. Chen knew this. So did the Krath. The Krath fleet arrived first, 500 ships protecting the station. They formed a defensive formation. They were confident. This time they were ready. Chen had 200 ships. The math was not good, but humans had never been good at math when it came to war. "We cannot win a straight fight," her tactical officer said. "Then we will not fight straight," Chen replied. She had studied human history, every war, every battle. Humans were masters of unconventional warfare. They found ways to win when winning seemed impossible. The human fleet split into 3 groups. The first group attacked head-on. The Krath focused on them. It was a distraction. The second group circled around. They hit the station's fuel storage. The explosion was visible from orbit. The third group, carrying the New Eden Brigade, landed on the station itself. They fought their way inside, room by room, corridor by corridor. Lisa was the first through the door of the command center. A Krath commander faced her. He was twice her size. He thought this would be easy. It was not. She moved faster than he expected. Her blade, designed to cut through Krath armor, found its mark. The commander fell. "Station secure," she reported. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Krath had lost 200 ships. More importantly, they had lost their supply depot. Their advance into human space stopped. But humanity was not satisfied with defense. Defense was not revenge. The council met again. This time the discussion was different. "We have stopped their advance," the president said. "Perhaps now we can negotiate." Chen shook her head. "With respect, sir, negotiation is not possible. The Krath do not negotiate. They conquer or they are conquered. There is no middle ground." "What do you suggest?" "We take the war to them. We show them what it feels like to have their worlds burn." Some council members were uncomfortable. War was one thing, but invasion, that was something else. A young woman stood up. She was one of the new Eden survivors, a representative they had elected to speak for them. "My name is Maya Rodriguez," she said. "My father was Commander Rodriguez. He died defending our home. My mother, my brothers, all gone." She looked at the council. "Do you know what the Krath did to the survivors? They made them slaves. They worked them to death. The lucky ones died fast." Her voice was steady. "I do not want negotiation. I want justice. The Admiral is right. We must take this war to them. Otherwise they will come for us again and again until there is no one left." The vote was not unanimous this time, but it passed. Humanity would invade Krath space. The preparations took another year. More ships were built, more weapons designed. The military grew to 10 million soldiers. Many were volunteers, others were drafted. Nobody complained. Dr. Kim developed new technologies, faster engines, better armor, deadlier weapons. She still worked 20 hours a day. She still dreamed of New Eden. "You have done enough," Admiral Chen told her once. "You should rest." Kim smiled sadly. "I will rest when it is over." The invasion fleet assembled at Neptune Station. 500 warships, 2,000 support vessels, enough soldiers to conquer worlds. It was the largest military force humanity had ever created. Chen addressed them before departure. "Today we cross a line. We are no longer defenders. We are invaders. Some will say this makes us no better than them." She paused. "They are wrong. We did not start this war. We did not attack innocent people. We did not enslave children, but we will finish it. We will show the galaxy that attacking humanity has consequences. Remember New Eden. Remember our dead, and let us teach the Krath the meaning of vengeance." The fleet jumped. The invasion had begun. The first Krath world to fall was called Nexer Prime. It was a military installation, home to 50 million Krath soldiers and their families. The battle was fierce. The Krath fought with desperation. They had never been invaded before. For millions of years they had been the predators. Now they were prey. Human soldiers landed on the surface. They advanced through Krath cities. Buildings burned. Soldiers died on both sides. The fighting lasted 2 weeks. When it was over, Nexer Prime was under human control. But Chen made a decision that surprised many. "We will not harm the civilians," she ordered. "We are not them." Some soldiers disagreed. They wanted blood, they wanted revenge, but Chen was firm. "Vengeance is not cruelty," she said. "We will destroy their military. We will end their ability to hurt anyone ever again, but we will not become monsters." The Krath civilians were confused. They had expected to be slaughtered. That was what they would have done, but the humans gave them food, medical care. They were treated as people, not animals. News of this spread through the Krath Empire. It changed things. Some Krath began to question their leaders. If the humans were truly inferior, why did they show mercy? Why did they act with honor? High Commander Vrix was furious. "These humans mock us with their false kindness. Crush them." But crushing them was proving difficult, very difficult indeed. The war continued for 5 years, 5 long years of battles and blood and death. Humanity pushed deeper into Krath space. World after world fell, but the cost was terrible. Lisa Wung was now a colonel. She had fought in dozens of battles. She had lost count of how many Krath she had killed. She had also lost count of how many friends she had buried. Her unit was about to assault a Krath fortress on a world called Drevna. It was heavily defended. Intelligence said many would die. "Colonel," one of her soldiers said, he was young, maybe 20, "do you think we will win?" Lisa looked at him. He reminded her of herself 5 years ago, young, scared, but determined. "We will win," she said, "because we have no choice, because giving up means everything we have sacrificed means nothing, because we owe it to everyone we have lost." The soldier nodded. "For New Eden." For New Eden. The assault began at dawn. Human soldiers poured from their ships. The Krath defenses were strong. Energy weapons cut through the attackers. Soldiers fell by the hundreds. But humanity did not stop. They never stopped. Lisa led her unit through the main gate. A Krath heavy weapon killed 6 of her soldiers in seconds. She kept moving. There was no time for grief. Not yet. They fought through corridors filled with smoke and fire. Every step cost lives, but every step brought them closer to their goal. The fortress command center was deep underground. Lisa and her remaining soldiers reached it after 4 hours of continuous fighting. She had started with 200 soldiers. Only 37 were still alive. The Krath commander waited for them. He was old for a Krath. Battle scars covered his body. He held a weapon in each of his 4 arms. "You will all die," he said in broken human language. "Your species will be erased." Lisa raised her weapon. "Perhaps, but you will go first." The fight was brief but violent. Lisa took a wound to her side. It would have killed an unarmored human. Her suit kept her alive. Barely. The Krath commander fell. The fortress was theirs. On the UHS Vengeance, Admiral Chen received the news. Drevna had fallen, but the cost had been high. 12,000 human soldiers dead, many more wounded. She sat alone in her quarters. The weight of command pressed down on her. Every death was her responsibility. Every life lost was a family destroyed. Her door chimed. "Enter." Dr. Kim walked in. She looked older too. The years of war had aged them all. "I have news," Kim said. "Good news for once." Chen looked up. "I could use some." "We have decoded Krath communications. Their fleet is gathering at their homeworld. They are preparing a final defense." "Their homeworld," Chen said slowly. "You mean we could end this?" "Yes, if we can take their homeworld, the war is over." The final assault was planned carefully. Every resource humanity had was committed. This would be the last battle, one way or another. The Krath homeworld was called Krath Prime. It was ancient. Their species had lived there for millions of years. It was the heart of their empire. Without it, they had nothing. The human fleet arrived 3 months later. 800 warships, 3 million soldiers, everything humanity had. The Krath had gathered their own forces. 1,000 ships, 50 million soldiers. They would not surrender their homeworld without a fight. Chen looked at the enemy fleet on her screen. "All ships, prepare for battle." The battle for Krath Prime began. It was the largest battle in recorded history. Ships exploded like stars. Missiles filled the space between fleets. Energy weapons painted the darkness with fire. Human ships fell. 100, 200, 300, but they kept coming. For every human ship destroyed, 2 Krath ships died. The technology Dr. Kim had developed proved its worth. Krath shields failed. Their weapons malfunctioned. Their greatest ships, once thought invincible, burned. High Commander Vrix watched from his command ship as his empire died. He could not believe it. Impossible. Humans were inferior. They were insects. How could insects defeat the Krath? "We must retreat," his subordinate said. Save what we can. Vrick struck him with one of his claws. The Krath do not retreat, we fight, we conquer, we do not run from lesser species. Then we will die. Then we die as Krath. But not all Krath shared their commander's view. Some ships broke formation and fled, others surrendered. The Empire was crumbling. On the surface of Krath Prime, human soldiers landed. Lisa Wung led the New Eden Brigade one final time. They fought through the capital city toward the Great Hall where the Krath leaders waited. The fighting was intense. Krath soldiers defended their home with desperation. They knew what defeat meant, total destruction. At least that was what they expected. It was what they would have done. Lisa pushed forward. Her armor was damaged. Her weapons were running low on power, but she would not stop, not until this was finished. They reached the Great Hall. The doors were massive, ancient. They had stood for 1,000,000 years. Human explosives opened them in seconds. Inside, the remaining Krath leaders waited. High Commander Vrix was among them. His fleet had been destroyed, his armies defeated. He was alone. "Kill me," he said to Lisa. "End this." Lisa raised her weapon. Her finger touched the trigger. This was the moment she had dreamed of for 5 years. Revenge for New Eden, for her sister, for everyone. But she did not fire. "No," she said, "death is too easy." She lowered her weapon. "You will live. You will watch as we rebuild. You will see the peace we create. And you will know that everything you believed about us was wrong." Vrick stared at her. He did not understand. This was not how war worked. Winners killed losers. That was the way of things. "Why?" he asked. Lisa looked at him with cold eyes. "Because we are human. We are not you." The war was over. 10 years had passed since the end of the war. The galaxy was a different place now. Admiral Chen, now retired, stood on a hill overlooking the construction site. Below her, machines worked day and night. Buildings rose from the ground. People walked through streets that once held only ashes. New Eden was being rebuilt. It had taken years of planning, resources from across human space, volunteers from every colony. Even some Krath had joined the effort, those who had rejected the old ways of their empire. Chen felt a presence beside her. It was Lisa Wung, no longer a colonel. She had left the military after the war. Now she worked in reconstruction, helping build what others had destroyed. "It is strange," Lisa said. "I spent 5 years learning to destroy. Now I spend my days learning to build." Chen nodded. "I understand, war changes us, but it does not have to define us." They watched as a family walked past them. 2 parents and 3 children. The children were laughing, chasing each other through the grass. It was the sound of hope. "Do you think they will remember?" Lisa asked. "The next generation, will they remember what happened here?" "We will make sure they do, not to hold on to hate, but to remember why peace matters, why we must protect it." The memorial stood at the center of the new city. It was a simple structure, a wall with names, 260,000 names, everyone who had died in the attack. At the base of the wall was an inscription. It read, "They came for our children, they came for our homes. They thought we would break, they were wrong. In memory of New Eden, never forget, never surrender." People came from across the galaxy to visit the memorial. Humans came to pay respects. Other species came to understand. Even Krath came, those who sought to learn from the mistakes of their ancestors. The Krath Empire no longer existed. It had been dismantled after the war, not destroyed, not erased, but transformed. Humanity had made a choice. They could have done to the Krath what the Krath had done to others. Total annihilation, complete destruction. Some had wanted that, many in fact. But the Council had decided differently. "We will not become what we fought against," the President had said. "We will show the galaxy a different way." The Krath were allowed to live, but their military was disbanded. Their weapons were destroyed. They were given a chance to change, to become something better than they had been. Many did not take that chance. They clung to the old ways. They died bitter and alone. But others changed. Young Krath grew up in a galaxy where humans were not enemies to be conquered, but neighbors to live with. They questioned the teachings of their elders. They sought peace instead of war. High Commander Vrix had lived for 7 years after the war. He spent those years in prison, watching as his empire crumbled. He never understood why the humans had spared him. He died still confused by mercy. Dr. Kim finally retired 2 years after the war ended. She had worked herself nearly to death. Her body was broken, but her mind was at peace. "I did what I needed to do," she said to Chen at her retirement ceremony. "I helped us win. Now it is time for others to help us heal." She died 3 years later, peacefully, in her sleep. The galaxy mourned her as a hero. Other species watched humanity with new respect. Before the war, humans had been seen as young, inexperienced, easy to dismiss. After the war, everything changed. The Talnari, an ancient species of diplomats, sent a message to Earth. "We have watched your war with the Krath. We have seen how you fight. But more importantly, we have seen how you choose not to fight. You have shown the galaxy something rare, strength and mercy together. We would be honored to call you allies." Similar messages came from dozens of species. Humanity had earned respect not just through victory, but through how they handled that victory. On the 10th anniversary of the war's end, a ceremony was held on New Eden. Millions watched across human space. Billions watched across the galaxy. Admiral Chen spoke. Her voice carried to every corner of known space. 10 years ago, we won a war, but war is not what defines us. Throughout our history, humans have shown a remarkable ability to destroy. We have weapons that can shatter worlds. We have the will to use them. She paused. But we also have something else. We have the ability to choose, to decide who we want to be. When the Krath attacked us, we could have responded with pure destruction. We could have wiped them from existence. Nobody would have blamed us. But we chose differently. We chose to fight until they could no longer hurt us. And then we chose to stop. We chose mercy, not weakness, mercy. She looked at the crowd. Humans, Krath, Talnari, a dozen other species, all watching, all listening. That is what makes us human. Not just our capacity for vengeance, but our capacity for forgiveness. Not just our ability to destroy, but our choice to build. Vengeance is our legacy, but it is not our only legacy. Today, standing on this world that was once destroyed and is now reborn, I say this: let this be our true legacy. Not just the ability to fight, but the wisdom to know when to stop fighting. The crowd was silent for a moment, then applause erupted. Cheering, tears, the sound of a galaxy choosing hope over fear. Lisa Wang stood in the crowd. Beside her were former soldiers from the New Eden Brigade. They had come together one last time. Most had families now. Children, lives beyond the war. "Do you think Sarah would be proud?" someone asked her. They meant her sister, who had died defending the original colony. Lisa thought about it. She thought about all the pain, all the loss, all the years of fighting, and then she thought about what had come after, the rebuilding, the peace, the future. "Yes," she said, "I think she would." The sun set over New Eden, the same sun that had risen on that terrible morning so many years ago, but now it set on something different, a city reborn, a people healed, a galaxy at peace. Children played in the streets. They did not know war. They only knew stories. Stories of heroes who fought when they had to and stopped when they could. Stories of vengeance and mercy. Stories of humanity. In the great hall on what was once Krath Prime, a young Krath scholar studied human history. He was trying to understand how such a young species had defeated his ancient ancestors. He had read about their wars, their crimes, their failures. But he had also read about their art, their music, their literature, their endless capacity for love and kindness and sacrifice. He reached a conclusion that his ancestors never had. Humans were not inferior. They were not superior either. They were simply different, complex, contradictory, capable of both terrible darkness and brilliant light. And perhaps he thought that was why they had won. Not because they were stronger, but because they were more complete. They carried within them both the warrior and the healer, the destroyer and the builder, the avenger and the forgiver. He wrote in his journal, "The humans have a saying, those who live by the sword die by the sword, but the humans did not just live by the sword. They also lived by the plow, the pen, and the open hand. That is why they still live. That is why they will continue to live long after others have fallen." He closed his journal and looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were building new colonies, exploring new worlds, creating new futures. And somewhere out there, the children of New Eden were sleeping peacefully, dreaming of tomorrow. Because vengeance was humanity's legacy, but it was not their only one. Hope was too.